Welcome back to another episode of the Mom and Me Astrology Podcast. My name is Kate Wind, and joining me is my mom, Mary Swick.
Good morning, Kate.
Good morning. Today we are discussing Leo season.
Yay!
Can't believe we're this far into July already.
Of 2021,
Halfway over. So Leo season typically runs from July 23rd to August 22nd. That can change by a day or two depending on the year.
Right.
And I think one of the things that stands out about Leos, this was one of the first podcasts we did.
Yeah, we did.
Is we're trying to teach the zodiacs by understanding the holidays that fell into their season.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if we talk about Capricorns being ruled by Saturn and what, holidays do we see during Capricorn season? We see Christmas and we see New Year's. And what do we do at New Year's? We start putting restrictions on ourselves. And that's how we can understand Saturn.
Okay, I got to go back and get the idea here.
Okay.
Well, no, you're right. What am I thinking? Excuse me. Go ahead. You're right.
That Saturn, we start putting restrictions on ourselves. I'm not going to eat this. I'm going to work out. I'm going to be more regimen. And so that's a way to understand Saturn, to understand the holidays that fall during that time. So we went through all the signs, and Leo is the only sign that doesn't have a major holiday in it.
True.
Right?
True.
But we discovered, I should say Dad discovered, I think Dad brought it to our attention.
I think he did.
That the National Restaurant
Association, right,
deemed that Leo season is the most, I should say they have the most celebrated public birthdays in restaurants during Leo season.
Right. Yeah.
So that can giving you some ideas about what Leos are all about.
Yeah, they celebrate themselves.
Yes, in public.
In public, they can. I mean, and we know we have some shy Leos out there.
Of course.
But they still may want it at their mother's table, their birthday celebration or something of that nature. But isn't that interesting that when you go into a restaurant in the month of late July and August, you're apt to hear happy birthday sung.
Yeah.
If you go out for dinner, I've never heard anyone doing it for breakfast.
Oh,
but, lunch,
maybe.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
lunch and dinner, you go out, you're going to hear happy birthday sung because there's more Leos, number one. There are more of them.
That's the
right?
number one.
The number one sign.
Populated sign.
Yeah, exactly.
Leos.
So there's more of them, and they celebrate themselves. I think we can learn something from Leos.
Absolutely.
Right? To celebrate yourself.
Yeah, there's some people that would be like, I would never go to a restaurant and allow someone to sing.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm
like
past that point. Yeah, like me.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm past that point. I don't want anyone singing, clapping, on the birthday.
Yeah.
And it's not an age thing. It just.
I was going to say, even when we were younger, I know you didn't like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about Leos being born. We're talking about the northern hemisphere here.
Right.
They're born in the hottest months.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Where we think of the sun as really bearing down on us.
Prominent.
Very prominent in the sky in the month of August, and
so in a sense, they're being born into the spotlight.
Yeah, they're probably shielded a lot from the bright light.
Mm-hmm.
Right, the long day. We would still be having that time of year.
Yeah. So they come in during the brightest months.
Mm-hmm.
They're also ruled by the sun.
They're ruled by Leos are ruled by the sun, yes.
They are a fire sign. I should throw that in as well.
Yes, absolutely, and fixed.
Yeah. And if we know anything about the sun, all of the planets revolve around the sun.
Yeah, in our solar system.
Yeah.
Right, all the planets dutifully stay in orbit.
Right.
And go around the sun.
Yeah.
So the sun has some control. Again, now we're not speaking as scientists here, but the concept is the sun is holding everybody in orbit.
Right.
And that kind of could be a great description for Leos in general.
Right. So we talk about the spotlight or the stage, and like you already mentioned, I've had some Leos say, oh no, I'm so shy, I don't want to be on the stage. But it's almost like we could call it egotistical, or we could call it, just aware that what they have to say holds some sort of value.
Yeah, they're an integral part. So whether it's an employee, whether it's a family member, they may say, hey, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be having this great party or spread that I worked all day to put out, right?
Right.
I mean, they're an integral part of, and they see themselves. And so, yeah, of course, they need some token of appreciation.
Of course. Of course. Well, I like this example that you gave about how when we were children, we would draw the sun and we'd draw like a big circle and then we'd draw those lines shooting out from the circle.
Yeah, yeah.
So it has the rays shooting out, and you can almost think of that as like the Leo aspect of it, of like kind of infiltrating into, people's lives,
They
into the
project.
work.
They project.
Yeah.
They affect people.
Yeah.
They do have impact. They do have a great impact.
Absolutely. When we look at the animal that Leos are represented by, we have the lion.
Yeah, yeah. And we oftentimes talk about that. Oh, she's got that Leo mane of hair.
Mm-hmm.
So generally, hair is important to Leos.
Right.
Right?
So I'm a Leo moon.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean,
your hair is it's one of your identities, right?
It is. But I know, especially when people have Leo rising, I think we say like, oh, you probably have a great head of hair.
Right, Leo rising, but it's interesting for men with Leo rising.
Mm-hmm.
I have found that there's a little bit of baldness or
really?
receding hairline involved.
Okay.
So again, it doesn't mean they couldn't still have a great head of hair, but then oftentimes they're overtaken by, now I'm losing it, so to speak, as well. So the point, it's really safe to say, always with Leo, there's something interesting about the hair.
Distinctive.
They're distinctive. They're really into it. They maintain it. It's something outstanding about it, or not just a signature. Something signature about it that it stands out.
Okay. So when we start getting into some of the describing words of Leo, we kind of have already sprinkled a few in, but let's kind of start naming off the big things that they're known for.
The big word, individuating. It sounds like we're in a therapist office, but it's such, I can't find a better word for it. The Leo has a need to find how they're different than somebody else and the person next to them.
Yeah.
So I sing better, I dress better, I travel and you don't. They make a bigger thing about what they're doing. And I have it later on my list here, but they speak with such confidence about what they're doing that it almost sometimes can be intimidating. Like, well, I went to the store, I didn't get that, I got this. And they're so clear that this was the best, and if you got something lesser, or you chose had another choice, it would be lesser, it wouldn't be as good. So they're very effective in conveying, what they feel is the best for them.
Okay. I think they also love value. So we talk about luxury, expensive things, whether that's they have a great wardrobe, whether they insist on driving a very nice car, that there is some of that outer appearance that plays into things.
Yeah. And it goes right into just the precious metals, gold, silver, that type of thing. Very, Leos generally just like fun. They like to be in fun environments.
Yeah.
We have a good mutual friend, almost adopted family, in the entertainment business.
Yeah.
And, he loves to be out where he's singing, playing the piano, where, people are. He loves that they're not there working.
Yeah.
They're there having a good time.
The camaraderie.
The camaraderie, absolutely. The playing to the audience.
Yeah, I think Leos, when it comes to party, they could be the best dressed if it came to a themed party.
Oh yeah.
That they can really get involved in the.
Well, they have a little drop of royalty in them.
Yeah.
And again, that doesn't really fit well with the way we talk in the West here, but it is that idea that there's some sophistication, or there's a knowingness about how to act or what to say, but it oftentimes shows up in how they present themselves. So I would expect a Leo to show up a little sparkly,
Yep.
potentially.
Yep.
And, even for someone with just a suit on, really sharp, snazzy suit, great tie, right? Something that really kind of catches the eye when you walk in the room.
Absolutely. So with that, I know we've kind of said, okay, not everything's about the spotlight, but they do make great performers.
They do.
They make, whether that's sports, whether that's media, where they are kind of the number one person.
And
in the
why
spotlight.
is that? Because Leo rules the performance arts.
Yep.
There's many of us that are collaborative, that we do all these things together, and it's really hard to pull out exactly what did you contribute. I contributed that which got edited, that's on the floor, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas performance art, you're sitting in the stands and you are looking at it. Can they play tennis, or can they hit the ball? Can they not hit the ball?
Yeah.
Can they do the ballet, or can they not do the ballet? Right? So they get themselves more aligned with things that actually need to get done.
Or have like a tangible outcome.
Thank you, tangible outcome. So we can say, oh, you didn't do it right.
Well, or yeah,
you can
I
see
saw
it,
you
or
in
it
that
doesn't
show.
function. I saw you in that show. I saw you trip up.
Yeah. And so if you're saying like the writers who there's a contribution thing, you can't necessarily say like who wrote that line or who wrote this line.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why, that's again goes back into, so it could be the one person at work that, if they make a mistake, it's very visible.
Yeah.
It affects the whole operation. Oh, so-and-so made a mistake here.
Yeah. We also have to talk about children, because children fall into the Leo category.
They do. The childlike. Yeah. Well, you know what, we know this because, we have a 3-year-old in the family, and, they light up every gathering, right?
Yes.
There's never a lull in conversation when Lincoln's around, because we're all so entertained by, and most of us are entertained by children.
Yes.
They're the life of the party for the most part. So it does make sense that they're naturally associated with the sign Leo.
Children are.
Children are, yes, exactly.
And so you're saying when we think of like what children do, we can give some of those same attributes to Leos, regardless of their age.
That's right.
That there's an entertainment factor. Or they might embrace like childhood activities. They like to be playful.
Oh,
they can maybe act a little age inappropriate.
Oh, absolutely. They might do something, they might get down and do something with a child that normally adults wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Splash in the pool, things of that nature.
Yeah.
They have an innocence about them, an expression.
I'd be curious if like Leos were the most I was gonna say misdiagnosed, that's not the word I'm thinking of, but like for their age, when you have to like play the guessing game of like age.
Yeah. Well, because their enthusiasm.
Yeah. Not misdiagnosed. What am I looking for? What word is that?
Just people not guessing their age properly.
Okay.
There must be some fewer words. I don't know what that is.
Absolutely. We also talk about like I would think they like to spend their money.
Yeah, I would think so. I think cash would speak to them more so than a check. Yeah. Maybe they carry more cash. I mean, I know that's not very popular these days. That's going downhill. Yeah. But at one point, I think we had said Leos like cash.
Yeah.
Money to spend, money that's ready, waiting. I'm not saying that every Leo goes out and spends all their money.
No.
But they like the idea that I got money in my pocket. I'm ready to make a deal if the opportunity comes up.
Well, I think, fun and like flashiness would both be associated with, well, you got to have money to do those things.
That's true. So, right.
That could just play into that.
It's a little hard to be that, isn't it, without some cash in your pocket?
Yeah. Or at least to look like it.
Yeah, that's right.
To pull out a couple $100 bills, right?
Right, exactly. To fan yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
I think also this thing about ownership. They do like to own. That maybe goes back to that cash thing, that they own it. And whether it's the car, whether it's the house, obviously many other toys it could be as well. Mm-hmm. But I do think they do particularly well through real estate. Okay. I think a Leo realtor is kind of the ultimate.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think lastly, before we start talking about more of the struggles, I know Leos want us to continue to compliment them, but just kidding. Let's talk about kind of them being coaches, about having a strong voice. So I think we kind of alluded to this already, but because they're so strong in what they think is right, they could be great debaters. They could also be great coaches because they can just say things very matter-of-factly. This is how it is.
Yeah, they say things almost like it's a fervent belief. Mm-hmm. We could just be talking about what car is best to buy. Yeah. But they speak about it so like factually that this is hands down, no question. And they seem to come to their conclusion pretty quickly.
Right.
So it's admirable, but I'll be honest, it's very intimidating sometimes when you're around Leos and they call it that this is the best, and you're thinking about doing the second from the left,
right,
and all of a sudden thinking, oh, am I getting a bad deal? Am I
That could also go back to them being a fixed sign. So if you're not familiar with astrology, they can fall into 3 categories, and fixed pretty much sounds like what the word is, that they can become very fixated when they have a plan, that it can be a little harder for them to be flexible with it.
Oh yeah, if it's working, why are we going to change it, right?
Right.
I think we should make some reference to their roar, because we brought in the lion thing, but there is usually something about the voice.
Okay.
So what you've already said, that they could be good at debating or persuading, selling, those types of things, but it could just be a strong voice that catches the attention.
Yeah.
And again, that doesn't mean it's the loudest. There could even be something uncomfortable about it.
Okay.
Think if you're in the jungle and you hear the lion roar. Oh, yeah. Right? There could be something shrill about the voice, or something that puts everyone on edge.
Could be the person that always speaks up, even though like no one else is saying it, but it's like they're like, I'll say it, right? And they kind of upset the apple cart with that.
Yep.
Okay. So let's talk about maybe some more like the struggles, that side of the Leo aspect. Again, one other thing we should say, which I think we've said before, like everyone has every single sign in their chart.
Oh yeah.
Right? So we're not picking on the Leos. We all have Leo in our chart. We're mostly talking right now if you have your sun, your moon, or your rising in Leo.
Right.
But look to see where Leo is in your chart. If you're familiar with the house system, if Leo sat on your second house cusp of money and what you value, you might really relate to some of these things.
Leo is on my 8th house.
Yep.
And so, I'm very, I've always been very focused on month end. What do we owe? What do we have? Kind of doing a little bit of a accountant's statement.
Finances,
even in our personal finances at the end of the month, just to see,
you get really excited about
we lose? A couple steps, or did we gain a little bit this month? Hopefully, always gaining. But I very much, and I get joy, I get happiness out of looking at bank balances.
Yeah. Well, that'd be like the Leo. That's like your stage.
That's right. That I like that idea. So I really look at that as very, very, very
fun,
relevant.
Okay. So some of the struggles of Leos. So we think about the sun. Right, we have to go back to their ruler. And the sun is not out. We don't see the sun 24 hours.
No.
Now, maybe if you're like in Alaska, you see it more than we do. But
the sun, during certain times of the year,
Right. The sun does have to go away where we then see the moon.
Yes.
So when we think of Leos, if they're going to be emulating their ruler, that they need that downtime.
Yes. Backstage time.
That backstage time.
And we'll think about this. Sunrise is like the curtains going up.
Yeah.
Right? The pulling back before the big show.
Yeah.
And then sunset is when the curtains close down.
Yeah.
And there's something about that cycle that Leos relate to.
Yeah, so these could be people that they're out in public and they're super chatty and they can work the room, and then when they come home, their partners might think, okay, you just put on a show out there. Now you're just quiet and you need like this nap time, that there's like this recovery that goes into it.
Yeah, and there can be a great shift even in their whole persona, in their dress. So, and we've seen this, we see it all the time in the stars, the movie stars, that we see them, of course, how they look on stage. And then what do the paparazzi love to do? They love to catch them with no makeup, in their, tattered, I don't know, tattered, but, just less than interesting clothes, comfy clothes, and then they want to catch them at that. But that's the Leo quality, that when they're on, but they need downtime. And, my mom, your grandma, was a double Leo, and she definitely liked her naps.
Okay.
I think I'll lay down for a nap now.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And he's like, okay, show's over, folks. I'm going for a nap. And it was literally a nap. She didn't go in and sleep for hours. No, she might lay down for sometimes, 30, 45 minutes, and then, okay, I'm up and going again here.
Okay.
So that's definitely, growing up with a double Leo mom, I see so many things there. But, one of the things I think is associated with that Leo energy is generally I don't think they like to talk about their losses, their sufferings. And again, my examples are obviously coming from, I was born in the 50s, so, the 60s, the 70s. I never saw my mom talk about something that was a personal loss, something where, and I know there had stories because she came through the Depression.
Oh, yeah.
Right, things of that nature. She saw stuff, put it that way. And they very much hold their pride, I say, hold their pride. That everything is fine, everything is good, type of thing. They don't have any cracks in their armor, I would say.
Yeah, that's a good one. What about maybe not being the best listeners?
Yeah, well, some people just make it easy. They're listeners. They make it really easy for you to talk.
Yeah,
they're giving you a lot of feedback and things like that. But I'm not sure.
Maybe it's not that they're not the best listeners. Maybe it doesn't seem like they're listening, or that they might relate what you're saying to their personal examples to show that they're listening, but it might not sound like they're just being empathetic and listening.
Yeah, the listeners I'm talking about, someone who just listens, and they're not going to, oh yes, and my life,
okay.
Blah, 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 blah. They're going to immediately, and many of us are guilty of that. When someone tells us a story, we immediately relate it to, oh, what's going on in my life.
Right.
But they're not the best. Remember, go back to that little primitive drawing as children with our white paper and our crayons.
Yep.
We drew the sun, and then we drew those spokes flying out from it. Leos project out.
Right. I think Leos are inclined to know a lot of people, but maybe not on that deeper level. Right. So that could be kind of go back to your thing about like they don't talk about their losses or their sufferings. That again, that they can have a lot of more superficial relationships that we're not getting down to the core of.
Right, I agree there. Well, they're influencers. You said the word coaches earlier. They're like influencers. Leos are influencers, and so they have an effect on people. But the role is not to get to know everybody deeply. Right. It's to influence them.
Right. That's true. Okay, let's break down Leos into the 3 kind of stages.
Yes.
So if you were born between July 23rd and August 2nd, or if you know your chart and you sit at a 0 to 10 degree sun, you're kind of a double Leo.
Yes.
You're ruled by the sun.
And the one thing I would say about double Leos, they do not like to be embarrassed. Okay. They do not like to be ridiculed. They might have real difficulty with someone who just, you're in some families and they do a lot of ribbing at each other. They don't roll with that very well.
Yeah, they can be very ambitious, very fearless, very sincere.
Yes.
All of those like adjectives that we describe like the fire signs by.
Yes.
This is if the sun is not afflicted. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, I don't necessarily relate to that. If you have like Pluto sitting on your sun, or
Saturn,
right. So there are other things that play into it, but this can give you a basis of what
exactly.
I do think these make great friends.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Well, they're considered the Leo's Leo. Yep. At July 23rd to August 2nd. They're really strong Leos.
Yeah. When we go to the next stage, we have August 3rd to August 12th. Again, so we're thinking like 10 to 20 degrees of Leo. Now you're ruled by Jupiter. Yeah. So there's some Sagittarius qualities that fall into your Leo sun.
Road trip, right? Road trip, travel. They like to be on the go. They want to explore. They want to learn. This Leo might be a little more interested in other people. How do you do that? Where are you from? Really getting into others because they're on a learning curve, on a big learning curve.
Yeah. So almost like the rays, if you will, but now they have the Sagittarius, the arrow.
Yeah.
So it's like the distance, or the connections, the networking. Anything else we want to say about? I think that kind of summed it up with the Jupiter, that they might move a lot, they might travel a lot.
I would say they might be luckier. They might kind of think of themselves as lucky, or they might gravitate to those little lucky omens. Oh, I got a rabbit's foot. I have, they might think about those things.
Yeah. I would also think that like continuing education would be great for them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, even going back to school at some point.
Getting certifications, licensing. Yeah. Okay. And then the last group, so August 13th to approximately August 22nd, your sun would sit at 20 to 29 degrees of Leo. Now you're more influenced by Aries.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you're like an Aries Leo.
Yeah.
So we get the double fire there.
Yeah,
sorry,
this is considered a little more impulsive Leo. And I think most people would say more courageous, more independent. And basically, they're taking more risks.
Yeah.
Because Mars rules being first
Mars,
or being competitive.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm going to run the race. I'm going to try to beat that other person out. So this could be the athlete.
I would think muscles, anything
Yeah.
that you can do, punching bags, weightlifting could be a great way to live that energy out.
Right.
When we move to some of the celebrities, I don't know if you want to talk about a few of the Leo celebrities.
You know, I want to talk about Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay.
Very dated, but I thought, oh, how cool that he was a Leo. Because, you know, he had his profile, and it was always in black. At first it was in black, and then they filled in. And you know, it was so interesting that he used his headshot. I mean, that's one word we didn't use with Leos.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little bit dated now because headshot sounds like an 80s term, I think. So,
Okay.
oh, I got to get my headshot. No, you know, for everything, you had to have
Versus
a
a selfie.
headshot. Right. And now it's a selfie, so it's not a big deal. But Leo is about, you know, how you look and how you project, right? So the Leos oftentimes are very interested in, oftentimes from that, you know, from that bust line up, what that image is. Well, Alfred Hitchcock actually used his profile.
Yeah.
And it was kind of an odd, you know, extreme profile as well, balding man. And then, you know, it filled into black, and then it went into this really kind of dark, scary, you know, picture show, so to speak. So I thought that he was just a great example of a Leo, putting his, you know, his image right on his films.
Yeah. We could look at someone like J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter books.
Children's literature, yeah, catering. Even though I must say, I really did enjoy those books myself.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I read them right along with you guys did.
Yeah, but it's like that childlike. I mean, I don't know. I feel like they got kind of darker. I didn't follow them along
They
as well.
did, and you know, we have
did.
not talked about that so much. The darker side, and there is a darker side to Leo.
Right. We could even talk about Meghan Markle. Well, we could assign her the lion. That kind of needs no introduction. She just moved her way into the royal family.
Yeah, exactly. She really, I mean, I don't know that her intention was to do it.
Right.
But she really shook things up.
Oh, yeah.
Her entrance into the family.
Absolutely.
She roared.
She did. We could also talk about Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
I feel like just his presence is like...
That's a Leo presence.
Leo.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. And his hair, I mean, you know,
True.
a little bit longer, right?
I thought that was a wig. Is that his real hair? Okay, it doesn't matter.
Does Hulk Hogan not have long hair?
I don't know. I thought maybe that was a wig. Either way, though.
Oh, it makes no difference. It's part of his image.
True. Let's wrap this up with what Leos have been going through. So we've been talking a lot about Jupiter and Pisces here.
Yeah, I'm stuck on it.
I know it's moving back.
It's good news.
Aquarius.
You know, I do like to talk about some good news. I feel like there's so oftentimes talking to a client about, Pluto's squaring your sun and Saturn's opposing your sun and you know, that is so lovely to say, you know what? I've had some lovely outlooks recently that I've done for clients because they have so many Jupiter things going on.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, it's been just a delight to deliver that news. But anyhow, Leos.
So Jupiter's in your solar 8th house.
That cha-ching, cha-ching, that's great news.
But usually we do associate that with some sort of loss or hardship that then has a very positive outcome.
Yeah, something that's been challenging, but that has a great outcome.
Right.
So you can think of just buying a piece of real estate. Very stressful.
True.
Exactly, all the steps and everything you have to do. And then you get this great house.
True.
You know, you go like, oh my God, it came true.
Right, or it could be like a job not working out, there being like tension, and then getting a better job.
Yeah, a raise, a promotion, a better job.
Yeah.
You know, by the way, Jupiter in that solar 8th is very good for relationships, sexual relationships, finding your passion, kind of resetting your life.
Yeah. if you know your chart and you have an Aquarius rising, in addition to being a Leo sun, you're kind of getting a double whammy at the money side of things and the additional security.
That would be really nice right now. Yeah.
So while that is all very positive, we have to talk about.
Now we have to come back to it with the reality check here.
Yeah. So especially those early Leos. So if your birthday is before August 3rd, this is behind you now.
That's a good way to put it. Yep.
If your birthday is after August 3rd and you're in the Leo category, this is to come.
You're in the midst of it.
Yeah. So Saturn has been opposing Leo's suns, and Uranus has been squaring them.
And that doesn't happen often.
No, it does not.
No. So this isn't something like, oh yeah, that happened to me last year.
I think 1999, 2000 was the last time that this happened.
Right. So it's a big deal. And again, can I give my...
Please.
It's a little disgusting, but
it's
a good metaphor.
Okay. Do I need to change the rating on this episode?
No, not that, not that way. It's just gross.
Okay.
So I say when Saturn's doing an opposition and Uranus is squaring, it's like when you have a pimple.
Okay.
And you're looking at it and you're trying to coax it along, so to speak, and you apply pressure from two different directions and just gentle pressure. And it's a messy little situation. It's kind of disgusting. It can be painful.
Yeah.
That's what Leos are going through.
Yeah.
They're being forced to change their identity, to rethink their role that they're playing. And that could be everything from my job, could be challenging for relationships. Mm-hmm. They're being forced to say, move it along.
Yeah.
You've grown out of this situation.
Right.
Move on.
Right.
And it's easy for me to say. But sometimes that's difficult, like, move on. What do you mean? I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave. I'm going to stay here and try to fight whatever, the challenges are.
Yeah. So again, if you're the early part of Leos, you've kind of been through this, maybe you're reeling from it still, like, I just made a big transition. Later halves of Leos, again, you're probably feeling it. You're feeling a little uncomfortable. It's like you can see the wave coming up from the ocean. You haven't felt it yet, but you can see there's change coming on the way. Mm-hmm. And then we are going to talk a little ways out, starting in 2023. Again, it's going to go in order from if you're the beginning of the Leo or the last.
Those July 23rds are going to get hit.
Yeah.
Right there in 2023, and that's, oh my gosh, that's so far out there.
No, it's
not. Is it really?
No.
Okay. It's coming.
Yeah, we'll have Pluto moving into Aquarius in 2023, and Aquarius and Leo do oppose. So if you were listening to what we were just saying about Saturn opposing Uranus squaring, and you're sitting there as an Aquarius thinking, that's me, or because they're opposite, that yes, it is you as well.
Yes, right. That's a good point.
So we will have Pluto. So if you have any friends that are Cancers or Capricorns, you might want to ask them what they've been through in the last couple of years. But Pluto can be some great upheavals and changes in life. So, gosh, I don't want to necessarily leave it on that point, but
well, let's go back to Jupiter in Pisces.
Right.
Right. We should have started there and ended here with this idea. Anyhow, okay, we all have challenges.
Oh, yes.
But sometimes there's a nice diversion going on.
True.
So work sucks, but hey, I'm getting, this is all happening at home, so, and that helps.
It does.
You get relief from someplace. So they're getting relief from someplace here. Some good news is coming for Leos, but yes, they're still wrestling with their identity.
And I do think like Saturn and Uranus, while that creates changes, it's all just preparing us for then that next thing then of Pluto. Like, so it's not
Saturn and Aquarius. Yeah.
Saturn and Uranus, the aspects that
Saturn
they're receiving
and Uranus.
from Saturn and Uranus,
yes, Saturn and Uranus
is getting them prepared for the aspect of Pluto.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Perfect. So that is going to wrap up our talk today on Leos. I hope you found this insightful. Again, whether you're learning about yourself, your spouse, or your children, maybe even your coworkers.
Yeah.
It just does give a better understanding of where people are coming from. So
absolutely.
We look forward to speaking to you guys next week.
Take care.